bought a few extra boxes, which I'm planning to convert into some really crazy World Eaters themed spawn. And then I also got a couple Masters of Executions, a couple boxes of Berserkers, a new Demon Prince, a couple of Lord Invocatus. I got a whole bunch of stuff. So I decided I'm going to start with the Eightbound first for a few reasons. One, because there's a few competitive lists that I want to try them out in, and I obviously didn't have the models beforehand, whereas the Berserkers, the Lord Invocatus, all of these sorts of bits and pieces, I can sort of use the models that I already have. And also just because I'm super excited for these guys, the models look fucking sick. So there's a few really sick. I don't know if this is gonna let you zoom in. Oh god, that goes grainy as well. Oh hell, when you zoom in. Let's not do that. There's a few really sick things about this kit that I want to try and highlight if I can. One of them is that the chest armor, for those of you who haven't got yours and haven't started building them yet, the chest armor actually underneath, it's got all of the musculature of their chest with all the little ports where everything plugs in. And the chest plate actually clips on over the top, as does the little gorget that's on the back there. That all ticks on the top, which is fucking sick. The other thing, which is I think is pretty cool, is they've got 3 different shoulder pads. So because I'm making 3 units, I'm going to do 1 unit all with the World Eaters logo, 1 unit all with the Corn logo, and 1 unit all with the Skull logo. I need to mix them up a bit because I had made this realization after I'd already built them all. I was just building them as per the instructions, and as per the instructions, each box of 3, you obviously build 1 of each shoulder pad. But then after I realized, well, hang on, those are universal shoulder pads, so I want to change them up. So like you'll notice that these guys here, pretty much this whole squad is built in the exact same pose, which is obviously suboptimal. And this is one of the big warnings that I want to give you guys before you jump in and start building yours, because one thing that I didn't realize is that all of the arms are actually completely interchangeable with all of the torsos. So all of the different leg options. So I figured that out for these guys. So if we look at this guy here, he's the bloke with the legs, the one with the skull and the mace ball, both legs flat. And the way that whole torso piece is sort of one piece, right? But the way that it's done means that when you put the chain glaive on him, it's on an upward angle, right? But then this leg set, which has just got the single skull on the tabard, that's how I was identifying them. The pose of those legs means when you put the same chain glaive, same arms, fit into that same slot, it's on like a downward sweep. And then the final guy, looks like I've built, oh no, yeah, the final guy is the guy's sort of running, got his feet up in the air, and he's in a different pose once again. So all of the arms are all interchangeable. So it's really disappointing that I've gone like this and put all of those guys in the same pose, when in reality, I should be mixing them up. Like, even these 3 guys here. Silly me. Actually, there's fucking 4 of them. Silly me. Didn't realize when I was building them that there was actually huge potential for diversity in the builds. I assumed when I was putting them together that they were just like all the other GW kits recently, where it's like mono pose. So I was like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it. So I guess I just build them all in that same pose. But it's actually not the case. So definitely don't make that same mistake that I've made. The other thing that I've done, which I'm pretty happy with, is I made myself some Master of Executions. So he's your standard Master of Executions body, but I've given him a head from the Berserker kit, so I busted that open and pulled out a head. I've also upgraded his weapons to be more World Eatery. I know the big axe is already pretty World Eatery, but I love chain axes, so... and then I've added a bunch of chains to him as well, just to give him a bit more of a World Eaters vibe. I reckon that guy looks fucking sick. I don't know if the camera's going to focus, but anyway. This is more of just an update anyway, not a showcase. And then I've done his mate as well, which same pose as the standard guy. I gave him one of the butcher's nails, exposed butcher nail helmets, because I think they're cool. And now I have 2 Master of Executions. He's also got a whole ton of chain that I've added to his backpack, added to his cloak, and I've made sure that it's all like swaying in the same direction as the wind that is affecting his cloak. So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with him. He looks sick. But yeah, so I basically just started going through these, and I was just like, workshop building him. I was just like, build this box, build this box, build this box, build this box. Whereas what I should have done is I should have opened all of the boxes, built all of the torsos, built all of the arms, and then shuffled the bits and pieces around to make sure that every model was unique, because you can absolutely do that. Like, you don't have to combo the certain arms. Like, so for example, like, this is a right-handed axe. Left-handed axe. I should say, which guy? What's the point I'm trying to make here? Oh yeah, and this is also a left-handed axe, right? So there's 2 different left-handed axes. So I could have alternated them between the torso poses to create a shit ton of different options. So definitely don't make that mistake. So what I'm doing over here is I've got my Exalted 8-bound out, and I've basically gone through every kit, ripped out all of the chain fists, and I built all of the different chain fists, even the ones that I'm not going to end up using, because it turns out there's multiple different left and right-handed chain fists. And then I've gone, okay, cool, I want this one here where the like sort of middle finger is a chainsaw. I want this squad to have middle finger chainsaw, middle finger chainsaw, middle finger chainsaw. And then I want them to have that axe, but I'm going to have different torsos for each guy, so they're all going to be in different poses, but the same war gear. And then I'm going to do the same for this squad, where they're going to have the left-handed axe and the chain fist, and then this squad's going to have the saw blades and the axe, saw blades, axe, and then double chain fist. And that way, you don't have to do squad markings or anything like that on them. You'll be able to just, look at the models and be like, yep, cool. So like on these guys, the plan will be that you'll be able to look at the shoulder pad will be really obvious. That'll be the main thing that'll tell them apart. One of them's going to have that, which is a skull. So that's going to have a bone color on it. That one's going to be mostly gold because it's a corn symbol. And then this one's got the World Leader symbol. So it'll have some like maybe oxidized brass or maybe blue and green. I'll have a look, see what I reckon looks better. But basically you'll be able to tell the squads apart is the goal. And then for the 8-bound, what I've done with them is there's one type of shoulder pad that has 2 spikes on it, one type that has 3 spikes on it, and one type that has a single spike on it. So basically that's how you're going to tell the squads apart. There'll be one squad that has all singles, one squad that has all double, and one squad that has all triple. So we'll be able to sort of, tell the squads apart without having to do squad markings or, elastic bands on them like some people do, or, whatever. You'll be able to tell the Berserker squads. Basically what I'm going to do for those is one squad's going to have, all different heads and different, I'll do something with them. They might actually get some freehand on them, or maybe one squad will have all shoulder pads off with exposed helms. Another will have all shoulders off with closed helms. I'm yet to dig into that, and I only bought 2 of those boxes from this first supplier, and the other 2 are on the way from somewhere else, so it might take a while for that. But I have got a shit ton of Berserkers already, so that's not super urgent. But yeah, I just wanted to hit you guys with a real quick update, see if you guys had anything you wanted to discuss in the chat. But I think it's probably the timing of this isn't fantastic. So, because it's, fucking 10:30 here in Melbourne. So it's probably too late here for most people in Melbourne, and it's probably too early for most people in the Northern Hemisphere. So, yeah. Either way, keen as fuck for some 8-bound action. So the list that I'm currently looking at is going to have 3 units of 5 8-bound, no exalted 8-bound. And instead of the exalted 8-bound, it's going to have 2 units of 10 Khorne Berserkers, and then a bunch of units of 5 Khorne Berserkers in Rhinos with these lads, and obviously the Lord Invocatus. The idea will be you'll have 2 of the units of 5 8-bound will pre-game move with the Lord Invo. 1 of the units of 8-bound will strat reserves, and they can come in first turn, so they're going to come in from a table edge turn 1. So basically you're going to have 3 units of 8-bound in your face turn 1. And the ones that do the whole pre-game move, they'll go for the deeper charges. They'll try to, get in nice and deep. And then the one that comes on from a table edge, they'll go for the 9-inch charge as well. And if they fail, who cares? There's 8-bound right in your face you have to deal with. Meanwhile, there'll be 1 Rhino that's going to have 8 Berserkers and those 2 characters in it. And then another 2 Rhinos, each of which have 2 units of 5. So, and then the 2 bigger bigger Berserker units will be strat reserved as well. So basically you'll have 2 units of Berserkers in strat reserves and 1 unit of 8-bound. And then if your opponent doesn't present you with any particularly interesting turn 1 charge opportunities, or perhaps, your opponent goes first and therefore you want to bring in your 8-bound because you sort of need to. So there'll be a lot of nuance to the way this army will play. I actually think it's quite interesting. On face value, I thought it was a little bit dull and a little bit dry, but the fact that the 8-bound can arrive from strategic reserves in the first turn means that if your opponent goes first, because when you do your pre-game moves, because you couldn't put them in strat reserves if you deploy them on the table for a pre-game move. So what you would need to do is you would need to look at the lineup and think, if your opponent can screen out your 8-bound, and therefore you're not likely to get value out of them turn 1, or if you can't screen them out and them getting first turn means they're going to be able to charge and kill your 8-bound before you get to strike with them. If either of those 2 things are true, you'll probably look at reserving all your 8-bound and just bringing them on turn 1 for 9-inch charges, instead of doing the whole Lord Invocatus pre-game move tactic. Because that tactic's really cool and all, but it can be worked around. But if they don't have those options, well, that's when you go, woo, here we go. 8-bound on the table, 2 of them on the table, 1 in strat reserves, some Berserkers in strat reserves. And yeah. Alright guys, well, thanks for tuning in for those of you that did. No comments in the chat yet, so I'll just cut it here. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Cheers.